You've been lied to. That frozen dinner you microwaved last night, it's loaded with chemicals banned in 32 countries. The chicken nuggets your kids ate for lunch, contaminated in 3 separate recalls this year alone. The vegetables you thought were healthy, coated in pesticide residues that accumulate in your brain tissue. I'm not talking about obscure brands you've never heard of. I'm talking about the names in your freezer right now. The ones with the smiling families on the box. The ones that say natural and wholesome and trusted for generations. They're counting on you not reading the fine print. They're counting on you being too busy to check. They're counting on your trust. What I'm about to show you will change how you shop forever. In the next 12 minutes, I'm exposing 10 frozen food brands that should never enter your home again. I'm giving you the exact chemical names, the exact health risks, the exact reasons the FDA keeps giving them a pass while Europe bans them outright. And yes, I'm also revealing 2 brands that are actually doing it right. 2 brands that prove the industry could be safer if they wanted to be. But first, I need you to do something. Right now. Drop a comment with 1 brand currently sitting in your freezer. Just 1. I want to see how many of you are about to get a wake-up call. Don't worry about judgment. We've all been fooled by the marketing. Let's start with the worst offenders. Banquet frozen dinners. That blue box has been in American homes for 60 years. Your grandmother bought them. Your parents bought them. They're cheap. They're fast. They're everywhere. Here's what Banquet doesn't advertise in 2022. Conagra Brands recalled over 200,000 pounds of Banquet chicken products due to potential contamination with extraneous materials including metal and plastic. Not the first time, not the last time. In 2019, nearly 700,000 pounds of Banquet chicken strips were pulled because of potential salmonella contamination. But the recalls are just the surface. Look at the ingredient list on any Banquet meal. Sodium phosphate, TBHQ, sodium nitrite, caramel color. Let me break down what you're actually eating. TBHQ tertiary butyl hydroquinone is a petroleum-derived preservative. The FDA allows it at levels up to 0.02% of the oil content. Studies on rats show that 1 gram can cause nausea, vomiting, ringing in the ears, and delirium. Long-term exposure. Linked to stomach tumors in animal studies. The European Food Safety Authority has expressed concern. Japan strictly limits it. Sodium nitrite is in every single Banquet product containing processed meat. It's used to preserve color and prevent bacterial growth. When sodium nitrite combines with amino acids during high heat cooking, it forms nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are classified as probable human carcinogens by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. They're linked specifically to colorectal cancer. Think about the smell when you microwave a Banquet meal. That chemical, slightly plasticky odor mixed with artificial smoke flavoring. That's what you're breathing in. That's what your children are breathing in. Who's most at risk? Children under 12 whose organs are still developing. Elderly adults with compromised immune systems. Anyone taking blood pressure medication? Because Banquet meals contain upwards of 900 milligrams of sodium per serving. That's 40% of your daily limit in one sad little tray. Conagra knew about quality control issues for years. They kept selling. They kept marketing to families. They kept putting profits over safety. Is that blue box still worth the $3 you saved? Hungry Man Frozen Dinners. The name itself is marketing genius. Big portions, hearty meals, sized appetite. It sounds substantial, it sounds filling. It's poison in a bigger box. Hungry Man is also made by Conagra, same parent company, same quality control issues, same chemical cocktail. But the portions are larger, which means you're getting concentrated doses of everything I just mentioned. More sodium phosphate, more TBHQ, more sodium nitrite, more carcinogens per meal. A single Hungry Man classic fried chicken dinner contains 1,810 milligrams of sodium. That's 79% of your daily recommended intake. In one meal, your blood pressure spikes within 30 minutes of eating it. Your kidneys work overtime trying to filter the excess salt. Your heart strains. The fried chicken itself. It's mechanically separated chicken. That means bones, skin, connective tissue, and meat are forced through a sieve under high pressure. The resulting paste is formed into shapes and breaded. The breading contains enriched flour, partially hydrogenated oils, and artificial flavors derived from coal tar. Partially hydrogenated oils contain trans fats. Even though the label might say 0 grams of trans fat per serving, the FDA allows manufacturers to claim 0 if the amount is less than 0.5 grams per serving. You're still eating trans fats. They're still clogging your arteries. They're still increasing your risk of heart disease by 23% according to research published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Think about the texture of that chicken. Spongy, grainy, slightly rubbery. That's because it's not real chicken breast. It's reformed meat slurry held together with binders and gums. Who's at risk? Men over 40 with family histories of heart disease. People with diabetes who can't afford blood sugar spikes from the 57 grams of carbohydrates. Anyone who thinks eating more food means eating better food. They marketed this to working men. They marketed it as comfort food. They marketed it as a reward after a hard day. It's not a reward. It's a shortcut to chronic disease. Would you feed this to someone you love? Tyson Frozen Chicken Products. Tyson is the largest meat producer in America. They process 20% of all beef, pork, and chicken in this country. Their frozen chicken sections dominate every grocery store. In 2023, Tyson recalled nearly 30,000 pounds of frozen chicken patties due to potential metal contamination. In 2021, over 8 million pounds of frozen chicken products were recalled for possible listeria contamination. In 2019, another 39,000 pounds for possible contamination with extraneous materials. See the pattern. This isn't bad luck. This is systemic failure. But let's talk about what's in Tyson products even when they're not being recalled. Carrageenan sodium aluminum phosphate, dimethylpolysiloxane. These aren't ingredients. These are industrial chemicals. Carrageenan is derived from red seaweed and used as a thickener. Sounds natural, right? Except studies show it causes inflammation in the digestive tract. It's been linked to ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, and colon cancer in animal studies. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classified degraded carrageenan as a possible human carcinogen. Food-grade carrageenan can degrade into the dangerous form during digestion, especially in acidic environments like your stomach. Sodium aluminum phosphate is used to make the breading stick and stay crispy. It's an aluminum compound. Aluminum accumulates in brain tissue. Multiple studies have explored connections between aluminum exposure and Alzheimer's disease. The European Food Safety Authority set a tolerable weekly intake limit. The FDA has no such limit for Americans. Dimethylpolysiloxane is an anti-foaming agent also used in cosmetics, silly putty, and caulking. Yes, the same chemical in the caulk around your bathtub is in your chicken nuggets. The FDA classifies it as generally recognized as safe. Generally, at low levels, with no long-term studies on cumulative exposure. Picture biting into a Tyson chicken nugget. The breading shatters with that distinctive crunch. Inside, the chicken is pale, almost gray. The texture is uniform, too uniform. There's no grain to the meat, no variation, because it's been mechanically processed and reformed. Who's vulnerable? Children who eat chicken nuggets multiple times per week. Pregnant women whose developing fetuses are exposed to these chemicals. Anyone with existing gut inflammation or autoimmune conditions. Tyson supplies schools, hospitals, and prisons. They're trusted by institutions. They're trusted by families. They've built that trust over decades, and they've used that trust to cut corners, maximize profits, and flood the market with contaminated products. Have your kids eaten Tyson nuggets this week? Hot Pockets. The ultimate convenience food. You can microwave them in 2 minutes. They're marketed to teenagers, college students, busy parents. Quick lunch, easy snack, no mess. Every single Hot Pocket contains refined white flour, processed cheese food, and preserved meats. The pepperoni Hot Pocket contains mechanically separated chicken listed before actual beef. It contains sodium nitrite. It contains potassium sorbate. It contains artificial flavors including smoke flavoring derived from phenolic compounds. In 2014, Nestlé recalled nearly 900,000 pounds of Hot Pockets and other products because the meat came from a facility processing diseased and unsound animals. Diseased animals. That's not a quality control slip. That's a catastrophic breakdown in food safety. The cheese isn't cheese. It's cheese food product. That means it contains less than 51% actual cheese. The rest is emulsifiers, whey protein concentrate, and artificial color. The yellow color comes from yellow 5 and yellow 6, both approved by the FDA but restricted in Europe due to concerns about hyperactivity in children. But here's the real danger: acrylamide. When carbohydrates are heated above 248 degrees Fahrenheit, they form acrylamide, a known neurotoxin and probable carcinogen. The crispy, golden crust on your Hot Pocket is loaded with it. Studies by the European Food Safety Authority found that acrylamide causes damage to the nervous system and increases cancer risk. Think about the last Hot Pocket you ate. The way the filling burns your mouth while the crust is still cold. The way the cheese stretches in artificial strings. The way it leaves a film in your mouth. That's not real food. That's engineered product. Who's at risk? Teenagers eating them daily for lunch. College students living off them during exam weeks. Single parents using them as emergency dinners. People who don't have time to check ingredients. Nestlé markets Hot Pockets as fun, as convenient, as a solution to your busy life. They're not solving anything. They're creating problems that show up 20 years later when the medical bills start arriving. Is 2 minutes of convenience worth it? Stuffers frozen meals. Stuffers has premium positioning. They cost more than Banquet. The packaging looks sophisticated. They promise restaurant-quality meals at home. Your parents probably serve them at dinner parties. Stuffers lasagna contains modified food starch, autolyzed yeast extract, and caramel color. Let's break that down. Autolyzed yeast extract is a hidden source of monosodium glutamate. MSG. Food manufacturers learned that consumers avoid products with MSG on the label, so they use ingredients that naturally contain free glutamic acid. Autolyzed yeast extract, hydrolyzed protein, natural flavoring, same compound, different name, same effects: headaches, flushing, numbness, heart palpitations in sensitive individuals. Caramel color sounds harmless. It's not the caramel your grandmother made on the stove. It's produced by heating sugars with ammonia and sulfites. This process creates 4-methylimidazole, a compound that caused cancer in mice according to studies by the National Toxicology Program. California's Proposition 65 requires warning labels on products with certain levels of form in EI. Federal law doesn't. Modified food starch is often made from genetically modified corn treated with chemicals to alter its properties. It's used as a thickener and stabilizer. The modification process can involve propylene oxide, a probable human carcinogen that's banned for use in food in the European Union. A Stouffer's lasagna meal contains over 900 milligrams of sodium. It contains 19 grams of fat, much of it from processed cheese and meat. When you heat it in the microwave, the plastic film traps steam. That steam carries volatile organic compounds from the plastic into your food. Phthalates, BPA, endocrine disruptors that mimic estrogen in your body. Imagine the smell when you peel back that film. Processed tomato sauce with that distinct metallic tang. Cheese that doesn't quite smell like real Parmesan. Meat with no depth of aroma. Your brain recognizes something is off, but the salt and fat override the warning. Who's at risk? Adults over 50 who already have elevated blood pressure. Women going through menopause who are more susceptible to hormone disruptors. People who believe paying more means getting better quality. Stouffer's positions itself as premium, as trustworthy, as a step above the budget brand. Same chemicals, same risks, higher price tag, better marketing. Does the fancy box make it safer? Marie Callender's pot pies. Marie Callender's evokes homemade cooking. Grandmother's kitchen, comfort food. The brand identity is built on nostalgia and tradition. In 2017, Conagra voluntarily recalled Marie Callender's frozen meals due to possible contamination with hard plastic and rubber. Not an isolated incident. Quality control problems plague the entire frozen food industry. But Marie Callender's markets itself as home style and careful. Look at a Marie Callender's chicken pot pie. The crust is made with palm oil, which is high in saturated fat. One pot pie contains 1,040 calories, 44 grams of fat, 52 grams of carbohydrates, 1,700 milligrams of sodium. That's not a meal. That's 3 meals worth of calories, sodium, and fat crammed into one aluminum tin. The filling contains chicken broth made with autolyzed yeast extract. It contains disodium inosinate and disodium guanylate, both flavor enhancers that work synergistically with MSG to amplify taste. They trick your brain into thinking the food tastes better than it actually does. The vegetables are minimal. Carrots, peas, and potatoes that have been blanched, frozen, and stored for months. They've lost most of their nutritional value. What little vitamin content remained is destroyed when you bake the pie at 400 degrees for an hour. But the real issue is what happens to your body after eating this. Your blood sugar spikes from the refined flour crust and starchy vegetables. Insulin floods your bloodstream. Within 2 hours, you crash. You're hungry again. You're tired. Your body has worked overtime to process this dense, nutritionally empty bomb of calories. Think about the texture of that crust. Flaky on the outside, but with a distinctly plastic quality. It shatters differently than real butter pastry. The filling is gluey, thick in an artificial way. The chicken pieces are small, rubbery, suspiciously uniform. Who's at risk? People with type 2 diabetes who can't afford that glucose spike. Heart patients who need to limit sodium and saturated fat. Anyone trying to lose weight who thinks one serving is reasonable. Marie Callender's trades on the memory of real home cooking. They exploit your nostalgia. They package industrial food in home-style marketing. Your grandmother would be horrified by what's actually in that tin. Would she have served this to you? Totino's pizza rolls. Every American kid has eaten these. They're at every sleepover, every after-school snack, every late-night study session. They're fun. They're easy. They're cheap. They're also concentrated pellets of the worst ingredients in frozen food. One serving of Totino's pizza rolls contains 830 milligrams of sodium. That serving is 6 rolls. The bag contains 40. Who eats 6 pizza rolls? You eat 15, 20. You eat them until they're gone. You've just consumed over 2,000 milligrams of sodium. That's more than the entire daily recommended limit. The cheese is enzyme-modified cheese. That means real cheese has been treated with enzymes to create a more intense flavor with less actual cheese. It's a cost-cutting measure disguised as food science. The pepperoni contains BHA and BHT, butylated hydroxyanisole and butylated hydroxytoluene. Both are petroleum-derived preservatives. Both are listed as reasonably anticipated to be human carcinogens by the National Toxicology Program. Both are banned or severely restricted in many countries, including Japan, Australia, and throughout the European Union. But the FDA allows them because industry studies showed they were safe in small amounts. Industry studies, funded by the companies that profit from using cheap preservatives. When you bite into a Totino's pizza roll, the filling is molten. It's so hot it burns the roof of your mouth. The exterior is barely warm. This temperature gradient happens because the filling is mostly water, oil, and stabilizers that heat unevenly in the microwave. The burn you feel isn't just heat, it's chemical burn from the sodium and acids. Who's at risk? children and teenagers consuming them regularly, young adults in college living on cheap frozen food, anyone who thinks small portion size means less damage. Totino's targets young people. They sponsor gaming events. They advertise on platforms where teenagers spend time. They've built brand loyalty before those kids can even understand ingredient labels. By the time you're old enough to know better, you're already hooked on the salt, fat, and convenience. How many have you eaten in your lifetime? Great value frozen vegetables. Walmart's house brand. People buy these thinking they're making a healthy choice. Vegetables are vegetables, right? Frozen vegetables retain nutrients. They're budget-friendly, not when they come from great value. In 2016, consumer advocacy groups tested frozen vegetables including great value brands for pesticide residues. They found multiple residues including organophosphates and neonicotinoids. These pesticides are neurotoxins. They work by disrupting the nervous systems of insects. They also disrupt human nervous systems at sufficient exposure levels. Organophosphates have been linked to reduced IQ in children exposed during development. Studies published in Environmental Health Perspectives found measurable cognitive deficits in children with higher exposure levels. The EPA has restricted several organophosphates, but they're still used on crops that end up in your freezer. Neonicotinoids are systemic pesticides. They're absorbed into every part of the plant, including the parts you eat. You can't wash them off. They're inside the vegetable. The European Union banned several neonicotinoids due to their effects on pollinators and potential health risks to humans. But that's assuming the vegetables are actually vegetables. Great value sources from multiple countries including China and Mexico, where food safety standards are inconsistent. Walmart doesn't disclose the specific origin of vegetables in each bag. You don't know where they came from. You don't know what was sprayed on them. You don't know how they were processed. Think about those frozen broccoli florets. They look fine. They steam fine. But when you taste them, there's an off flavor, slightly bitter, slightly chemical. That's not how fresh broccoli tastes. That's residual pesticides and processing chemicals. Who's at risk? Pregnant women whose developing fetuses are most vulnerable to neurotoxins. Children whose smaller body weights mean higher exposure per pound. Families trying to eat healthier by adding more vegetables without knowing they're adding more poison. Walmart built an empire on low prices. Those low prices come from somewhere. They come from cutting corners. They come from sourcing from countries with minimal oversight. They come from accepting quality that other retailers reject. You saved $2 on vegetables. What did it cost you? Amy's Kitchen frozen meals. Wait, Amy's is supposed to be the good one, right? Organic, vegetarian, family-owned. Progressive values. They charge premium prices because they're supposedly doing it right. They're not. In 2022, multiple former Amy's Kitchen workers filed lawsuits alleging unsafe working conditions including repetitive strain injuries at rates far above industry average. One facility in California was cited by Cal OSHA for serious safety violations. This isn't directly about what's in the food, but it reveals the company's priorities. More importantly, let's talk about what organic actually means in frozen food. Organic vegetables are still blanched frozen and stored for months. They still lose nutritional value. They're still cooked in oils. They're still loaded with sodium. An Amy's frozen burrito contains 680 milligrams of sodium. An Amy's margarita pizza contains 630 milligrams. One serving. These are supposedly health-conscious options. The crust contains organic wheat flour, organic sunflower oil, and organic cane sugar. Organic doesn't mean healthy. It means the crops weren't treated with synthetic pesticides. The flour is still refined. The sugar is still sugar. The oil is still processed. Amy's products contain organic caramel color, still made through heat processing that creates 4-MI. Organic status doesn't eliminate carcinogens formed during manufacturing. But the real betrayal is the price. You're paying $8 to $12 for a single frozen meal because you believe you're making a healthier choice. You believe organic matters. You believe small companies care more. You're paying premium prices for marginally better ingredients wrapped in the same problems as conventional frozen food. Think about how that Amy's meal tastes. Better than Banquet, sure. Better than Stuffers? Maybe. But is it actually good? Or is it just better than the bottom of the barrel? Are you settling for less bad instead of demanding actually good? Who's at risk? Health-conscious consumers who think organic is a shield. Parents feeding these to children believing they're making better choices. Anyone who equates higher price with higher quality without reading the actual nutrition facts. Amy's Kitchen built a brand on values, on transparency, on caring about health. But sodium is sodium, calories are calories, and worker exploitation is still exploitation, even when it happens at an organic food company. Does the green label make you safer? Jimmy Dean frozen breakfast sandwiches. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Jimmy Dean knows this. They market these sandwiches as a hearty way to start your morning. Protein, energy, convenient. One Jimmy Dean sausage, egg, and cheese croissant contains 760 milligrams of sodium, 35 grams of fat, and 530 calories. Before you've even started your day. That's more than a third of your daily sodium limit. In a breakfast sandwich you eat in the car on your way to work. The sausage contains sodium nitrite. Again, the egg is a scrambled egg patty, made with whole eggs, non-fat milk, soybean oil, and modified food starch. It's not a real egg, it's an egg product formed into a patty shape for consistency and shelf stability. The croissant is made with enriched flour, palm oil, and contains mono and diglycerides. These emulsifiers are often produced using trans fats as processing aids. The trans fats might not remain in the final product at labeled levels, but you're still consuming the byproducts of industrial processing. But here's what makes this particularly insidious: you're eating it first thing in the morning. Your body is in a fasted state. Your digestive system is just waking up, and you hit it with 760 milligrams of sodium inflammatory oils and nitrite-laden processed meat. Your blood pressure spikes. Your body goes into inflammatory response mode. Your pancreas floods your system with insulin to handle the refined carbohydrates. By 10 a.m., you're exhausted. You need coffee. You need another snack. You've started your day in metabolic chaos. Think about the texture of that egg patty. Rubbery, uniform. It tastes like egg, sort of, but it doesn't taste like a real fried egg. The sausage is grainy. The croissant is more chewy than flaky. Your body knows something is wrong, but you're too rushed to pay attention. Who's at risk? People with high blood pressure, who are most vulnerable in the morning when cardiovascular events are most likely. People trying to lose weight who don't realize they're eating a meal's worth of calories as a snack. Boozy parents feeding these to kids who need stable blood sugar for school performance. Jimmy Dean is part of Tyson Foods. Same parent company, same priorities. They know Americans are rushed in the morning. They know we'll sacrifice quality for speed. They're betting you won't notice until it's too late. Is this how you want to start every day? Now let me tell you about the two brands that are actually trying to do this right. The two brands that prove frozen food doesn't have to be poison. Applegate Farms. They're not perfect. No frozen food is perfect, but they're transparent about what they're doing differently, and the difference shows up on the ingredient label. Applegate Farms frozen chicken nuggets contain chicken, water, rice flour, and a handful of recognizable ingredients. No sodium nitrite, no TBHQ, no artificial preservatives. They're certified humane, meaning the animals were raised with better welfare standards. They're antibiotic-free. More importantly, Applegate publishes third-party test results for pesticides, antibiotics, and contaminants. They're not hiding behind FDA minimums. They're setting their own higher standards and proving they meet them. Are they more expensive? Yes. A box of Applegate nuggets costs about $8 compared to $5 for Tyson. That $3 difference is the cost of not poisoning yourself. That's the cost of accountability. That's the cost of actually caring about what goes into the product. The taste is noticeably different. The chicken has texture variation. It has real grain to the meat. The breading is lighter, less aggressively seasoned because they're not covering up off flavors. Applegate proves that frozen chicken products can be made without resorting to the worst chemical preservatives. They prove that transparency is possible. They prove that the industry could do better if they chose to. They choose to. Most don't. Cascadian Farm frozen organic vegetables, owned by General Mills, but operating with higher standards than Great Value or other budget brands. They source from farms that meet organic certification standards. They test for pesticide residues. They publish information about their supply chain. A bag of Cascadian Farm broccoli contains one ingredient, organic broccoli. That's it. No additives, no preservatives. Just vegetables that were picked and flash frozen. Are organic vegetables nutritionally superior to conventional? The research is mixed, but they definitely contain lower levels of pesticide residues. Studies consistently show organic produce has fewer detectable pesticides. When you're talking about neurotoxic compounds, less is better. Cascadian Farm vegetables taste cleaner. When you steam them, they don't have that chemical aftertaste. They taste like vegetables. The texture is better. They're not mushy or mealy. Could you buy fresh vegetables instead? Sure. But frozen vegetables are frozen at peak ripeness, which means they often retain more nutrients than fresh vegetables that traveled for days and sat in your refrigerator for a week. Frozen isn't inherently bad. Frozen with pesticide residues and unknown origins is bad. Cascadian Farm isn't cheap. You'll pay $6 to $7 for a bag compared to $3 for Great Value. But you're paying for vegetables that are actually just vegetables. These two brands prove that frozen food doesn't have to be a minefield. They prove that companies can source better ingredients, use fewer chemicals, and maintain transparency. The technology exists. The supply chains exist. The possibility exists. Most frozen food companies choose not to do it because it's more expensive and Americans are trained to buy the cheapest option. You now have the information. You know what's in your freezer. You know what those chemicals do. You know which brands are cutting corners and which ones aren't. Go to your kitchen right now. Open your freezer. Look at the brands. If you saw them in this video, take them out. Don't finish them. Don't give them to your kids because you don't want waste. They're already waste. They're destroying your health. Throw them out, replace them with better options, or better yet, cook real food. Buy a rotisserie chicken and freeze the leftovers. Make a big pot of soup and freeze individual portions. Cook rice and vegetables in bulk and portion them out. The frozen food industry has spent decades training you to believe you don't have time. You don't have energy. You can't possibly cook. They've made billions by convincing you that convenience is worth any cost. It's not. Your health isn't convenient. Your children's health isn't convenient. Avoiding chronic disease isn't convenient, but it's necessary. You now know the truth. What you do next is on you.